All right, we're live. That's the theory anyway, as we're figuring out technology like every show. The wonderful world of live feeds and technology, and anything can happen. Who knows? We're live. Every show this happens. Steve has been on the show.
Stop it!
Like 47 times. And the volume is still on his phone.
Not anymore.
Well, I'm trying to link it to my Facebook page.
Okay, so refresh your page and then
Look
and
at
now
Ken.
scroll
Ken is
down.
just so cool. He's like,
I know, Ken is cool as a cucumber.
Oh, there we are.
There we are. We're live. So
Share it.
yes,
Okay,
so
okay.
share that.
Share public.
That's it.
Yes. Oh, what did I do? I don't know how to get back to live.
Oh, post it.
Oh,
Post
good
it.
grief. Hi, I'm Joe Orsak. Welcome to the Why No Whine Show. That's right. It's the only show where you can be offended and friended all in the same hour. We have a great mission here in America. America has lost the ability to disagree civilly. So this show is all about bringing differing viewpoints together, having a great glass of wine, and talking about everything that everybody says you're not supposed to talk about. Religion, politics, sex, drugs, rock and roll, whatever it may be, right? And alcohol's involved. What could possibly go wrong? We're going to have a great time. We're going to enjoy some great wine. We're going to introduce the guests. You guys be sure to tune in. You're already tuned in. I mean, comment. Be sure to comment on the show. And if it's a wine-worthy comment, we'll put it up on the screen and we'll talk about it. We might even make fun of you. No, I'm just kidding. We don't do that. So whatever. So,
I just came for the wine. I don't know.
So what
I'm-
kind is it?
it is called For a Song. It's a Washington wine. It's a Cabernet. Cabernet. It's a very...
Which
Yeah.
appellation?
It's a Cab Sauv.
Sounded
Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yes, and I forgot to look at this, but it says it's has cherries, black currants, tan leather. Maybe they aged it in some tan leather. I don't know.
Cow in your wine.
And dark chocolate, plump and velvety on the palate with gentle tannins. All right, so we had it last week. I forgot to, find a different wine this week because my wine just shipped and I don't have another bottle. So we're going to get to have it again this week, and we're going to have a new audience rate it. Steve had it before, so we'll see if he rates it the same today. There's volume just happened, so I'm going to start pouring some wine.
She did a me.
Yeah, she did a Steve.
User error.
I'm going to start pouring some wine, and the guests are going to introduce themselves and give whatever shameless plugs they want to give
Oh,
to
yes.
whatever events or businesses
That's
they
good.
want to promote.
The other reason I'm here. Yeah.
And there we go. So, Steve, introduce
All right.
yourself.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Steve Williams. I've been here many times before. I guess for lack of a better introductions, I really don't have any shameless plugs yet. If I do,
Swirl it.
please tune in and be amazed. I'm a Harris County Republican Party precinct chair, and that's what I've been doing for over 25 years. And Ken's been rushing to the wine, so I'm going to go ahead and toss this to my partner in crime, Tamara.
It's Tamara. By the way. Tamara Zalud.
Tamara.
Yes, I went to Joe High School, been married to my lovely husband, Nick Zalud. He's probably watching, so I needed to say that.
He is.
He's my
Shout out to
shameless plug.
Nick.
My shameless plug. So, I'm the president of the Battleground Tea Party. I'm a Ron Paul Republican. I've been involved since 2008. I have principles over politics, and I have friends of many sorts. So
Very cool.
I thought I heard some libertarian in that discussion earlier.
Yes, the show always starts before the show. We start busting out the wine at least an hour before the show, guys.
You know, I have to say this, so it's unfortunate, Tamara, that you have to preface saying I have friends of all sorts. Just because you're a Republican doesn't mean you don't have friends who are different races, colors, creeds, opinions, religions. I think it's unfortunate.
I only believe in
for
having white
people who are
friends.
Republicans, like Democrats don't have to say that. We're like, okay,
Well,
we have
maybe
friends.
because
But no,
we
it's
lost because
unfortunate.
we kept it so tight. And
It's
some people
unfortunate.
don't have friends. So they don't venture out. But I definitely
I am
do.
pointing at
You know what I
me.
mean? Like,
Not
don't
no.
be forgetting. Like, don't be an apologist. You
I
have
appreciate
friends. You're
that.
awesome. You're open. You know, like
That's
yeah,
why
so
she's here.
cheers.
Ken is one of my closest black friends.
You?
This is when you can't say all lives matter.
Okay, we're not
There we go.
I'm trying to figure out.
As the only
I'm
minority,
sure we'll have that conversation.
as the only minority in this crowd, we've talked about that. But you know, you're predominant race is white. My predominant race is Asian. I'm Chau Nguyen. I am the Chief Marketing Officer of the Houston Area Women's Center. I'm privileged and proud to be here. I kind of came for the wine, but I'd love to plug where I work, which is hawc.org. We are the largest support services provider for clients, women, children, families who are suffering and victims of domestic and sexual violence, big issue, violence against women and children. And Joe and I met a few years ago when I was working at another agency called the Women's Home. He has spoken to the women who are in recovery and are homeless, suffering from mental illness. So I know that he has a big heart. We might have divergent views, Joe, but I respect his opinions and his.
And only a few of them were messed up after the talk, so I feel like the odds were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So when Joe invited me to come on, I said, hey, you get free wine, you get to talk about your agency and
What is not to like?
share your opinions. So honored to be here, and cheers.
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 Ken.
Right.
Cheers. Yes.
Go, Dan, go.
I won't leave you clinkless.
Cheers.
Clinking.
Here's to a great show and great wine. Ken.
I'm Ken Snyder. I don't really have a plug. I'm here to talk politics, race, religion. Those are things I really like talking about. I really like the fact that that we can do it in this setting and walk out and still all be friends, not unfriend each other on Facebook, not hang up the phone, not pull out a gun, not run somebody off the road. Everybody chill out, enjoy life.
Fine, I will take you off a block,
Talk
Ken.
whatever there is
Jeez.
to talk about. I guess the only plug I have, really getting to, I believe this guy's a great insurance agent. His name is Arthur Romanoff. He's with Nationwide Insurance. He's really trying to get relationships with realtors, real estate brokers. He does MCE training. He's a member of the Whine Club, and he's just one of the best insurance agents that I've worked with, and he's taking care of me and my business. So
What's his name again?
Arthur Romanoff with
Ashley.
Nationwide Insurance.
Invoice. Arthur at Nationwide.
Join the Whine Club.
If he joins,
Oh, he joined the wine club. Okay, nix the invoice. He's in the wine club. It's all right. It's all good. So, Arthur, that was close. Arthur. All right. Nick said cheers. He's tuning in.
Oh, yeah.
Yay. Thanks for tuning
your
in, Nick.
husband.
Yes. Awesome that he's tuning in.
Esther.
Esther Williams. Esther tuning in. Thank you for joining the show. Matthew McGee. Cheers,
Oh, my
Matthew.
friend. I met him
Yeah.
block walking my precincts in like 2007.
Wow, that's cool.
He
That's a
actually
long
ended up
time
being in
ago.
my wedding as Nick's best man.
Just
Chris.
from meeting him by
Yeah,
walking?
became great
That's
friends.
cool.
Chris Blaney.
Oh,
Yep.
hi, Chris.
Yes.
I
Join-
love Chris. He's so sweet. And
Great
he's
guy.
super conservative.
Super conservative, and you
Had
still
me
like
on,
him.
Of course.
That's very
He's
big
had
of
me
you.
on the show. We promote him times. They were all one. You can find commonality.
See? Thank you.
Did he offer you
Compromise.
wine on the show?
Who? Chris?
Chris.
No,
Chris?
we always call it. It's a call-in show.
Oh,
It's a
okay.
call-in.
All right.
I call it.
Well, if you
Yeah.
call into
Gotta
this
give
show,
him a
I'll
plug.
still offer you wine.
Ship it to my house.
Right, there we go. I can cover that. I really can. So that's
This
the
is
guest of
gonna
the
be
show here. Yes, we're gonna talk about everything we're not supposed to talk about. I have no idea what we're gonna talk about. We talked about like 5 million things before the show. It was all over the place.
It was.
Right.
It was.
So I don't think we talked about any politics, which is a very unusual thing
We
beforehand.
talked about, let's see, we talked about social issues, gender issues, a little bit of race, and then you gave some metaphors about what if I drove on the wrong side of the road, and then it just kind of got long-winded, and we're like, Joe, just stop.
I don't think I quite understood the point. No offense.
No, we're not going to go over that.
You wouldn't be the first.
No, but you were very sincere in trying to explain that.
Yeah, go with your post.
Oh, okay. Well, so we can discuss this. I mean, first of all, do we have other?
This is good, by the way. Very yummy.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
For
It's
a song.
For a song wine out of
I like
Washington. It's a Washington State wine.
Columbia Valley.
Yep.
Mhm.
And it mellows nicely. It opens up, like a lot of the bold wines, they open up a little with a bite to it. It mellows very nicely. It becomes quite smooth after it's been.
I had a problem with it last week, but you know, this week I'm thinking it's not too bad. I told you I was going to find a way to wrap around the vintage.
So,
There you
Joe,
go.
I want to
So,
know
yeah, we're
how
good.
you bring together people on a weekly basis, because I've kind of popped in and out of your shows over the weeks.
That's a good question.
That is a
How do
good
you
question.
just
Very good
find-
question.
One day I saw it was all men. I'm like, what is this perspective all men this week?
If you go back through the shows, you will notice we do have a pretty diverse audience.
Well, you know a lot of people.
Yeah, so I'm a person that, like, everybody's my friend. I just haven't met them yet.
Yeah.
So,
You're gonna love everybody.
Well, my problem is that I'm probably the stray dog that stays outside the building here. He says, "Come on, Steve."
I don't even invite him. He just keeps showing up.
You just
So,
keep
you know,
showing up.
yeah.
Wine.
Yeah, rub wine. I'm
Friday.
going to show. Yeah, it's Friday.
There we go. Right. I mean, it's first of all, it's Friday and there's free wine involved. So it does make it a little bit easier to get people to show up. You know, it's like, hey, we're going to be drinking premium wine from around the world, and it's free. It doesn't cost you anything, and I'm going to give you like an hour that you can shoot the bull and talk about whatever the heck you want to talk about. So, you know, I tend to get people that are opinionated.
Oh, look, Chris Whine, he said, Chau is awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Yay! Yes.
So good.
Tell him my name is pronounced Tamara Zalud. He always
Tamara Zalud.
Zalud.
For Chris, yes. And I think David is chiming in. David Pipkin is a regular on the show, and he's manning the feed here, so he's making some comments. He said there's an open invitation to anyone who wants to be on the show. If they're willing, we will make a way. So
Your show or his show?
this show. So
I just gave Dave a little salute.
If you build it, they will come. So. This is
You can do that on.
outstanding platform premise, etc. So
yeah, so the idea, you know, look, the idea of the show, and I've said it briefly at the beginning of the show, but for people who are tuning in, the idea of the show is that America really has lost the ability to disagree civilly. We see this. I mean, the last election really brought it to a head. But it's not just the last election. And you've pointed this out in the past, Ken, talking about the blue and the red and how many times they crossed the aisle in the Congress and that sort of thing. We've absolutely become more of a divided nation. And I'm not so I don't have a problem with divide as much as I have a problem with how the divide is handled.
how you treat each other.
Right. I mean, I can completely disagree with you and never cross the aisle, so to speak, to agree with you.
Or to attack you, right?
But I don't have to, like, belittle you. I don't have to tear you down. I don't have to
tweet
attack you.
To
All
be
that
like
stuff.
I feel like a lot of times the rhetoric is, like, I think of the visual and I think of a confounded child who's going, like a toddler throwing, and I've had toddlers, right? Throwing this temper tantrum,
With
and they go like
small
this. Well, you go,
Look at her hands.
oh, we're not going there.
Fists.
We could go there. I could go there.
We can go
And
there.
this like
Toddlers
goes
have
there,
small hands.
and then they just go, "Rrr." And I think we are a country of, I mean, grown-ups. There's no decorum. There's no civility. It's really like a confounded child throwing a temper tantrum and just turning all red and going like, "Rrr." That's what I think of when I hear the banter and the arguments. I will tell you, a lot of people, you know, I'm a tried and true Democrat. I've spent a career in television news. You know, I'm a journalist at heart. I'm a storyteller at heart. But what I will tell you, let's move a little further. What I will tell you is I don't like the argumentative my way or the highway. So I just believe that somewhere in the middle lies
The name
some
calling.
sort of like you said, commonality. I saw compromise. Some sort of, okay, I get what you're saying, you get what I'm saying, and somewhere can we meet in the middle? Isn't that just like the kind of the truth of all relationships? I mean, marriage, right? Compromise with kids. I mean, look.
I mean, that's compromise, but
Yeah, well,
within your own family unit kind of.
But that's the art of relationships is just, gosh. I mean, it's kind of like Rodney King. I mean, you know, here's this guy who got beat up by the cops 30 years ago, 20 years ago.
It's
and he
been a
said,
minute.
can't we all get along? And those were his famous last words, that kind of became sort of this iconic phrase, right? But it makes
The Sublime song, you know, it wasn't about Rodney King, you know, and went on to list all the countries, all the states, cities around the, well, it was written about that. And then it goes to list all of the major cities that were dealing with, I guess, sort of uprisings at the time.
Well, I mean, I come from a sort of a different, I mean, like I try to be the outside observer of anything I watch these days, which is, why are these, you know, when you have this strong reaction to something, then it's really your onus to look within you and see where that's coming from, right? Because we shouldn't have a strong reaction to that much.
You can have a passion.
Yeah, I was just saying,
A passion, right? But a
Right.
strong reaction.
Well, some people
of
nowadays,
disdain and hate,
especially
right?
in politics, I see a lot of elected officials that seem to have this me Tarzan.
Well,
Yeah, they do.
You know
and
what
what it
happens
is
in
they
politics is, right?
well
As you know.
they tend to confuse confidence with arrogance and attacking with challenging. It's like if you were to say something, Chau, and I felt like, well, let me challenge you on that. Don't confuse what I say. You have to have another personal knowledge about me is that I will never really argue with you. I will challenge anybody on their position just so that it's an educational thing. It challenge me. I will find new things to approach the subject.
Maybe the way you communicate it is help me to understand. That's
Right.
how I try to sort of dissolve any sort of discussion. Was help me to
Conflict
understand.
resolution.
I think is
Right?
whenever you hear somebody, don't think take it as an attack on you personally. Like
Right.
I feel people start just in their mind not even listening.
They get defensive right away. Just
Right
like you
away.
said in that example, which is, are you judging me? Well, that's defensive.
Part of that
right?
has to do with the way it's presented, though, too, in my opinion. If somebody
It is.
says, look, what you're saying is this, and you should think this way, you should take that
Well,
personally.
you is kind of an attacking word.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You,
So-
you.
You asked about where do I find guests for the show,
Yes.
right?
See, we
And so-
diverged.
That's okay. That's how conversation
Rest.
happens, right? So, because I'll tie this back to what y'all were just discussing. I have a very diverse group of friends. I enjoy that. There's an ancient text that says iron sharpens iron. I believe that my ideas are improved through challenge, as you, to use your word, putting it out there and letting somebody else attempt to break my argument down. And if the argument stands after it's been tested, then the argument is stronger after that testing. And so that only happens through dialogue and having different viewpoints, thrown at it. And sometimes you take that view and you put it out there and some holes are poked in it and you kind of modify and you adapt and that sort of thing. That's how I see life, this process of evolving
Yes.
my beliefs, evolving, my spirituality, my relationships, all those things. And those are made better through conversation, all right? And
Understanding, listening, right?
so, the premise of the show, I said it at the beginning of the show, was that Americans lost the ability to disagree civilly. I in analyzing that problem, like what got us here, that kind of thing. This is an
Internet, your ability. To
yeah, right. I mean, that's definitely. Hang on.
It's social media.
Yeah, social media.
Yeah.
Have great.
Oh my God.
So
How many
I'm
keyboard
not-
So hang on.
tomatoes do you know?
I want to discuss all that, but I want to say because this is not to oversimplify because there's a whole lot to this. But
Yeah.
generally speaking, we are told from an early age not to discuss religion, not to discuss politics, right? We're told not to
I
discuss.
was never told any of those things.
We are told not to discuss these
Unfiltered.
things generally, parties, public settings, etc. Don't discuss religion, don't discuss politics. And I'm like, why? Those are the most important things in life. How our government is ran, what the spiritual beliefs and things that we stand for and all that sort of thing. I'm like, it to me is a very, very weak position to start from to say that we aren't mature enough as adults to handle that kind of discourse.
But we are.
So,
And it starts
and-
from up top.
Well, we
And
claim
so-
names like, well, Trump did this.
Well, right,
or
and so-
so-and-so did that, instead of keeping to the issues.
So what I was just, I'll finish and then y'all can jump in 100%. So I think that having that philosophy, starting from that place of not discussing leads us to like it bubbles over. We want to
Yes,
talk about
it's
it,
like a-
right? And
yeah,
so then we
power
get
hit.
into a situation where we have the internet now, and I can sneak out there and discuss these really sensitive things with anonymity from the protection of my keyboard. And so
You
now
don't have to be civil.
right, you don't have to be civil, and I haven't adapted any skills of civility because I'm not talking about it in public where you might punch me if I'm a jerk,
I
right?
think we've all
So-
been through this where we
That's a
post
good point,
something
yeah.
and then
That's-
it's just
that's-
like it goes downhill
There's no,
and
like-
then there's no
You find yourself being dragged down to become the lowest common denominator in the discussion. And like you said, it takes maturity. It takes life experiences. And I've been caught up in some pretty surly conversations online. And I consider somebody just coming in real quick like a troll or somebody like that as basically a keyboard commando. I said, you wouldn't say that in public. You wouldn't say that to somebody's face like that.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the way you feel about it, if that's out your comfort zone, may the yoke be light upon your shoulders, okay? Because it's going to come back and haunt you one day, especially me.
And then you have people like at the University of Houston. I went and saw Milo.
Yanni.
Yes. So, but he almost, it's not that he abuses the First Amendment, but what he says in kind of, it's not trolling per se, but saying things that, okay, I've said this, now what? And some people can be truthful when they speak, they can do what he does, and then some people are very sarcastic and dry humored. So you can't always get that across online.
Yes,
Social media is
text-
difficult to get
Well,
emotional.
text
Text
is
is-
body language and tone.
Exactly.
Right.
Actually, there's a
Right.
lot of psychology was my background, studying in school and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Communication is far more body language than verbal.
And
Right?
tone,
How
right?
tone,
Everything
all this sort of
happens in
thing.
text messaging.
Think about how you
So
say it.
you
There's
eliminate.
more
You
It's the
eliminate.
worst way to communicate.
I mean, they were
Right. It's
Hey,
a
Tamara.
horrible way to communicate.
Hey, Tamara, how was your day? As
So
opposed to, hey, Tamara, how was your day? You know, I mean, that's tone, right?
How did
What?
you mean that?
Tone to text.
right, you can't put tone to text.
Exactly.
So put Tiffany's comment on the screen.
Come on, sit down.
What
I'll
did
do the
Tiffany
cameras.
say?
Right. My daughter said you can't put tone in text.
No.
My daughter's running the camera. She's a
You
brilliant.
do it with emojis. If you do a
right.
bunch of emojis.
Yeah,
She's
that's
brilliant and she's free.
I can't even.
she's brilliant and she's free. Right.
One thing I just
She's
wanted-
not free really. She costs me a lot of money.
Yeah, there's so much coming up.
Yes. So
brief, just like in 20 seconds.
No,
Yes.
no,
One
take
of
your
the
time.
coolest part about, well, not the coolest, but, growing up, I always thought I was going to go to law school, but after high school, I graduated in 2003, so 9/11 had just happened.
Oh my gosh. I
So-
was already working in television.
My husband and I are the same age, and we both watched the bombing of Baghdad, so there was a lot of things that shaped our adolescence. Anyway, one of the most interesting part was finding yourself, where you stand, and what your values are, what you think, and this occurred through discourse. Like talking to people, because I didn't know how I thought about things, and so I taught. And oh, you're right. That is not right.
But the other way you
one of the thing I just wanted to finish though, the hardest part was people that you didn't know how they felt, and then they were dear to you, and then they drift off because of that. When you find yourself, and that was kind of the hardest part.
But you know what? That meant that they were in your life for a reason, season, or lifetime. It was probably just a season.
And some people
So
stayed that were absolutely
Right.
opposite, but that's sad.
Ashley,
never
can you
know that
put
might come
Tiffany's
back
comment
around.
on
I'm
screen?
sorry.
No, that's me.
Huh?
It's
Okay. Oh, there's a bit of a delay. Okay, so for real quick, I wanted to address a couple comments. Chris is messing with you. He says, Chau Nguyen is fake news.
Well, I'm pretty real now, working in nonprofit.
And then he said, I'm just kidding. She's a fantastic journalist, unlike today's
former.
news.
Former.
So,
And next
Social worker.
and next week, Chris and Chau will be on together.
now, I put a comment. I had
So, you
Tiffany's
know, Michael
comment.
Berry and I are good friends. I mean, that's how that tells you that sometimes you can cross that political divide.
I would tell
And
Michael
say-
I don't like his beard.
I saw
So,
him the other day.
Tiffany, I
You know
put
what
Tiffany's comment on the screen. Tiffany said, you shouldn't be afraid to offend. I'm not. Now, that is an interesting comment because
Well,
here's the
I know where
thing.
this is going. Go.
Huh?
don't be
go.
afraid
Yeah.
to offend.
This gets to my point. You asked me about the comment that we were talking about off
Okay.
air, right? Where my point was that sometimes the truth does offend, right? I'm a biblically oriented person, and
So if
and-
it does offend, then you have to look inward, right?
right. So
Right?
this is right. So check it out.
Mhm.
You have to be.
Depends on the presentation.
So
That's
let
self-awareness.
me finish the point on this, and then we can jump on it. I'm a biblically oriented person, and there's a scripture that says that the truth is a double-edged sword, cutting to the very marrow of the bone. In other words, like to the core of your being, right? Truth can be extremely painful, and if you walked into a room and just started swinging a sword around, it can really damage people. So the lesson there is that while truth is, it is of the greatest. I mean, it's, Jesus literally
Absolute.
said of himself, I am the way, the truth, and the life, right? So, he is the truth, right? That was from his own mouth, right? So truth is about as good as it gets, but truth wielded improperly can be very painful, can be very harmful,
Fake news.
right? So
You can hurt people with the truth. That
you can
might
hurt people with the
disagree
truth.
with you.
So my point was,
It can hurt.
don't always have to solve everything or whatever it was.
don't have to solve everything. So my
Yes.
thing was like, if I know a truth,
It's about the right moment soon.
And for me, it's a tested and tried truth. And I see you
doing something harmful, like an
counter
addict,
to it. Right, exactly, right.
You're an addict.
Does it matter if it's your friend or a stranger?
No,
I don't
because
think it matters.
In Joe's philosophy, everybody's my friend. I just haven't met them yet, right? Yeah, no, I would obviously approach it different,
but you know what?
Because I've had friends that I was very, very blunt with, right? I had a guy friend at one time, and tough love. I had a guy friend in my life one time that was like, I just, I'm trying to be a Christian and all this kind of stuff. Why won't God bring, this perfect woman into my life, right? And he went down the line of, so I said, tell me about this perfect woman. What would a perfect woman look like? And he named this, saint of a woman, all this kind of stuff. And I said to him, I go, why would God curse that woman with you? Bam! And so that was a ball-peen hammer between the eyes.
Yeah.
And I said, now that I know I've hurt your feelings, I said, let me back up and ask you, what kind of guy do you think God would bring into that woman's life?
Precisely.
Right?
Not you.
And he started describing a guy that wasn't him. And I said, if I were you, I would get busy becoming
that guy.
Be the change you want to see in the
world. Right.
Oh,
and
Gandhi.
So that's
I knew you would come up with something.
Try.
All right, clink time.
Deep
Clink time.
thoughts.
There you go. Ding,
clarification.
Kindness and
Ding,
compassion
ding.
prevail. Deep thought.
That is correct.
Gandhi.
We just clicked
So
to the
that's a
crack.
clean thought.
Ooh.
For the record,
Nice
I was
one.
wondering when that was going to happen, just watching.
It's perfectly okay. I have lots of glasses. As long as it didn't break, I'm good. So
No, Nick's going to laugh at me now.
for me, the point is that if I withheld that truth from him as a friend, if I just let him complain that, he's without this great woman in his life and, and poor pitiful me and all this sort of thing, and I would have said, wow, that's bad, man. I feel bad for you, right? But in my head, I go, dude, I know the life you're living and the guy you are, and I know you can be more.
You have to wait for that moment, though.
And so, right.
And you have to communicate it, like you said, well.
Right.
It's
so
hard because you have to let them.
I have issues with some of my friends about parenting, they probably have issues about me parenting and about relationships, but you want to make sure what I recognize sometimes is our stuff that we want to opine is usually our stuff.
Sure.
Right? So how do you discern between your stuff, which is these are my issues based on my past, versus I want to help you do what's right? Well, what's right? Is it right according to the book of Joe? Exactly. Or is it Chau, or is it according to who?
That's kind of what I was wondering, was if someone would think it was from you, like that you know everything, or was it something you were applying based on your personal...
Yeah, because you said, Joe, it is your perspective.
Yeah, I was just going to say, first of all, everything you know is your perspective, right? That's inescapable, right?
Then what are the universal truths?
Collectively upon your wisdom.
So exactly. So now I can say, like for instance, like I said, my frame of reference, my perspective is that the Bible is true. So that's the point of reference I come from. It is my perspective. Now I will say, according to the text, it says this, right? Now then we can talk about what's your perspective on that text, what's my perspective on that text, and all that sort of thing. And you can analyze it from 20 different ways, right? But at the end of the day, I will ask, what's the result? In fact, I had this conversation with somebody just yesterday about business and going to conferences, right? And teachers being brought up on the stage and lauded on the stage who really had no business being on the stage, right? They had a very successful week or they had a very successful month, right? And I said, look, from my position, I said, if you haven't achieved greater success, then you have no business teaching me, right? And I said that, and I got all kind of people jumping on me, and that's fine. Let's talk about it because we had this conversation. They said
comes across as pretty judgmental. Like I'm better than you.
Right? No,
I don't need to hear from you.
So
I have nothing to know from
listen, that's fine. I said it that way on purpose because I knew it was going to start this dialogue. That's why I said it.
So he's a rabble called the Purposeful Millionaire. James is my friend from Austin, Texas, who had some life-changing experiences. Oh, shit.
You fixed it? Okay.
Who had some life-changing experiences. Are we back?
We're back.
So he had James, if you're out there, hi James Nowlin. He had some life-changing experiences, and he writes this incredible book about how to be a millionaire with intention and purpose. And I will tell you, you should read it. I'm not a millionaire. I'm a social worker, and I work at a nonprofit. but the lessons he imparts in the book are amazing and wonderful, and he's just a blessing to so many of us, and writes beautifully in this book, and is traveling all over the country doing speaking engagements, blah, 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 blah. You need to have him on the show. It's so fun.
I would love to have him on the show.
Who doesn't want to be a millionaire, right? Like,
of course. So, listen to this. I will use this point. If you have never made $1 million, and
collectively I have over the lifetime.
If you've never made,
this and what is the inflation?
So hang on.
Discussion.
It's a great analogy, right? If you've never made $1 million, right, and I'm in a position to have built more than one multi-million-dollar company,
you're done.
Right, and
we want to be you.
And no,
I'm just kidding.
no, that's not. Don't make this about me. I'm saying all this hypothetically, right? So if I've done that, and you were put on the stage, and you're going to tell me how to make $1 million, I'm like, what are you going to teach me? Because at this point,
this is a good. Okay.
All right.
So James can do that because he's done it.
Exactly. That's my point. So what is it exactly that you're going to teach me? Because
and that's what happened to
at the point of which you're coming from, you may have great theoretical knowledge, right? But until it's knowledge applied, if I've already done it and I've already achieved it, I'm not going to submit to that knowledge.
So you kissed the front door out of these people, basically.
Of course.
Got kicked out of the conference.
Of course. Right? I said, look, and in short, I was like, I don't need to go to a conference to be hyped. I want to go to a conference to learn. But I want to know that the person, I can, like, and I was speaking only for me in this. I said, I don't need to be hyped up.
And this was what, teachers?
It was just any conference.
It's the
right?
conference bubble.
I don't, right, a conference bubble, exactly.
Here's
I don't need to go to a conference.
When I was younger, I was like, oh my gosh, that person drank the Kool-Aid. I was a much more intolerant person than I am now. So recently, I watched on Netflix that Tony Robbins documentary, and I was fascinated. Have you guys seen that?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen
Tony, have you seen it, Joe?
Well, passion is very contagious.
Tony Robbins has built this empire around,
I will say that.
He's like sort of the practical psychologist, and he gets people at the core, and he has this gift with just like going at the jugular, the intimate jugular, right? And I was fascinated about how his huge following, right? And so I think whatever works for somebody, and you just burst their bubble.
Right, no, and that's why I said very specifically. I said for
totally
me.
Burst their bubble.
For me. I was very clear. I said for me, I don't need to go to a conference to be
just
hyped.
walk out.
Right. I'm saying for me, I don't need to go to a conference to get hyped up. I wake up.
Why were you there?
We're talking about going.
Oh, okay.
Right. In essence, I said, what's this conference about? What's the point? I said, I don't need to spend money to fly across the country for you to hype me up and get excited. I handle that myself. Right. That's when you know what you want in life and you have goals that are very clear to you and defined and all that sort of thing. I don't need to go have a hoorah speech to get me focused on those goals.
He doesn't.
That's
need to be at a game. He didn't have needs a bunch of cheerleaders out there going on that.
Yeah, but what I noticed about this whole Tony, who saw it? The Tony Robbins thing where but there are a lot of people who need that awakening.
Yes,
they need that aha moment. They need that, oh my gosh. And I watched it, I thought, I already had that aha. But I loved watching it because I saw how inspired people were.
Yeah. And that gives you a little bit of strength. People like Joe and myself, we're very nuts and bolts kind of guys that we want to see the engine, we want to know how to break it apart, how does it work? And
you're not touchy-feely like that.
Well, I am touchy-feely.
I can get emotional about a lot of things.
All my point was, I was speaking. I said very much for me. I was speaking in this context that I don't need to be hyped, right? I have a very focused why in my life. I'm driven to do that. So I'm not going to spend money just to go someplace and have them hype me up and get excited, right? I do that every day, right? But if you're telling me you're going to put somebody on the stage who's doing what I'm currently doing and is far more successful, and he's going to be breaking down how he achieved that success, now I'm in. Right? Let's talk. Right? But I want to know he's actually been more successful.
He's the real deal.
Right.
Tony Robbins, the real deal. Not my cup of tea, but he's the real deal.
And so
what defines being proven, though?
Right. So here we go. That's kind of the conversation I wanted to happen. I said it that way very, abrasively to start this conversation, right? And they said, so you're saying you can't learn from somebody, unless they're more successful you will. How do you know they're more successful? And what's success to you? I'm like, exactly. Success must be defined, right? Mm-hmm. And this person gave an example and said, well, what if I gained 1,000 customers in a month, but I only retained 10 of them. And you gained only 100 customers, but retained 80 of them, right? Is that more successful? And I said, that's a great question. Because now we're defining what success looks like. Now we're defining customer retention and customer acquisition. And I said, and you know what? If I was wanting to learn about customer acquisition, the person that brought in 1,000, even if they didn't keep 10, has been more successful at acquiring people.
Right.
And they may actually have something to teach me. Now, I need to be very skeptical and observant because they only kept 10. So that's a red flag.
Just like
But now I may choose to go because they produced a 10 times increase over what my numbers were. So at least now I'm in a position to hear. But if you tell me this expert you're putting on the stage only acquired 20 people and only kept 10, and I required 100 and kept 80, exactly what's this person going to teach me?
Well, what is the ratio here? Are we talking about the quality of the 10 people that you retained out of the 1,000 that you introduced, or the 80 out of the 100? I mean, so the 10 out of the 1,000 may be 499 customers. Okay,
so
or the 80 might be.
I didn't want to get bogged down.
79
I didn't want to get bogged down in that example, but just to say that apply it to relationship, apply it to business, apply it to whatever you want to. But who is the expert and what are they teaching you?
You're
because
a skeptic.
we live in the age
back to personal
we
values.
live in the age of the guru, though. This is my point. Is that everybody and their mother's a freaking guru?
I know, right?
Why is every relationship
I'm
coach
going to tell
single?
you how to do this. I'm going to tell you how to do this.
Right?
Just because you're a guru doesn't mean you're everybody's guru.
But that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
the Tony Robbins documentary is called "I Am Not Your Guru."
So I need to address some comments.
Yeah.
I need to address some comments. We've been talking a while and we've had a lot of great comments. Chris said Chau is fantastic.
Aww.
Fantastic social worker and one of the nicest people I've ever met. She
Love
helps
being a
so
social
many
worker.
people and is a kind soul. So Chris, you're really sucking up to Chau now. I don't know what you're trying to get at here.
I'm just trying to
So,
dispel the social
wants to be
worker
a mixed
misnomer.
ex.
Right. So then we had, I think, David chime in. David said, truth can be wielded improperly, but it's also quite commonly improperly heard and interpreted. Communication is about responsibility, both for what you say and how you say it, as well as what you hear and how you hear
Who
it.
says
Yes,
this?
choose your words
I think it's
wisely,
David.
adjust your words.
Oh, that sounds like something David would say.
So, dang it. Chris said, Joe is laying down some wisdom now, then drinking wine. Modern day philosophy and fermented grape juice. Yes, Chris, that is the idea of the show right there. Nick said, love it. I don't know what he was saying, love it too.
His wife.
No.
Right, just his wife. There you go.
He's a great listener, by the way.
Chris said, I am qualified to teach people to eat cheeseburgers. Yeah, I'm really good at that. So I'm down. I get you, Chris. There's a couple things like that. I'm really good at drinking wine. I'm practically an expert at it now.
I read somewhere that self-awareness comes to about 10 to 20% of America. Self-awareness is, as a former practicing therapist, although I maintain my license, is about looking inward and saying, why do I react the way I do? Why is my behavior the way it is, right? So really looking inward. When we feel something about what somebody says, then it's really a mirror of what's going on in our lives. And usually it's family of origin stuff, this psychobabble.
But that also
Absolutely.
applies into the idea that I can detach myself from my body and look at what it is that I'm doing.
Right.
Take an objective look at my position. If all I'm doing is hacking people off with anything that I say, I better stop and take a look at what I'm saying first.
And what's going on with you?
Yeah. Why am I
Being
instilling the baggage that I'm trying to get off?
Yeah.
It's
Why isn't it about
counterproductive.
love? Why isn't it about, our lives
That's
are
a really
so
good point.
finite, right?
Right.
So-
So if you said something that offended me, I'd probably say, well, damn, I don't want to listen to
And
this
then
anymore.
take that moment
that's
to
not
go,
productive.
what's going on?
So 2 comments I got to throw out. One, because it's my daughter who made a great comment. So, I'm taking
She's
She's like,
now peeking
what
over
did
the
I
hood.
say?
She said, I can't tell you how many times. You should put it on the screen, babe. Put it up on the screen.
Oh,
Huh?
I don't know if it's too long enough.
Nah, put it up on the screen. It'll be fine. My daughter, Ashley Orsak. It is.
whoa!
Oh my God. Okay, take it off the screen. It is too long. So I always wanted to see what happened when we had a really long comment. And it says, I can't tell you how many times it's back now. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people get offended, see people get offended and feel attacked over being told the truth. She's very passionate about animals.
Oh,
and
bless you.
she has a freaking zoo in the house.
You mean rodents?
No. We have rabbits. We have
That's awesome.
47 cats.
47.
I'm joking, but it feels like we have 47 cats. And she says animal
That means you're
care.
compassionate.
So listen to what she says. Animal care is something I talk about, and often people will get so offended when you tell them they have an inappropriate cage or care techniques. That's why I'm in groups where we put the animal's well-being above the people's feelings, right? So
I'm with you on that.
So
With
yeah,
you.
I
I'm not
did.
getting it.
So I tried to.
I'm with you, Ashley.
One, two, three.
As a former rescuer, prolific rescuer and fosterer.
So this is translate that from animals
Another
to
Humans?
people and humans and everything
Yeah,
else,
so
and
we
this
have
gets to my point.
One story.
That
One
gets to my
side
point we
story.
were talking about prior to the show.
Well, in the legislature this session, didn't they use that as an excuse to, I don't remember all the details, but the animal legislation was more strict than it would be for human babies. And so they were like, I don't know if the animal one got passed, but that's not, they're different, but they're the same. But it's
So
not.
it's funny. People have an interesting trigger with animals. So one anecdotal story, which is when I worked in television news, and I worked at all the like 3 of the stations in Houston. If you showed a video of a skunk falling off a tree line or a power line, we would get calls like a skunk fell off, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, a skunk fell off the tree line! How can you show that? That is animal abuse." But remember, every day there's a homicide. There's a car accident, and there's people being wheeled in the ambulance, and people, getting perped while.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
People
Oh, yeah.
have, because
and
people have,
elderly people who are like
people have a very sensitive spot for animals, and I get that. I mean, they're furry and they're loved, and
and they
they're
don't
God's
talk to you.
creatures, and they're.
Oh, they talk.
I mean, I'm a big animal
Can I say
lover.
a couple things? Because
Yes, finally.
There's a couple things. Actually, what you were saying earlier,
What's that?
it's funny how philosophy can be broken down to memes sometimes.
I love
Memes.
memes.
What is
Memes
it?
are my favorite.
What's the right way to say that?
Meme.
Meme, meme.
Mame.
You were talking about
Mame. It's French for silly picture.
how if something bothers you, you need to be self-introspective and figure out why that is.
And just
So-
laugh over it.
Here's a really cool meme.
We should take that and throw it out to the feed.
It's a
Okay,
mame.
so this is from the meme dictionary. It's unfuckwithable.
Nice.
It's an adjective,
Unpeopable.
and it's when you're truly at peace and in touch with yourself, and nothing anyone says or does bothers you, and no negativity or drama can touch you.
That's like Jesus, man.
It's like
It
previous
is.
Americans.
Jesus.
It's more than Jesus.
That's like super Jesus. That's like
many
higher
philosophers
consciousness.
and so that's part of it. The other thing I wanted to talk about,
Yeah.
so the purpose of the show, that's why I love the show, Joe. So, okay, the purpose of the show, I really love the purpose of the show. And what I found in talking to people, you spoke to this a little bit, I think we all did, is I came across a person who said, it's a real deal breaker for me if you voted for Hillary. Okay?
Yeah, I've heard that.
So
I
said,
didn't mean it. God, give me a
So
break.
I said, it's a deal breaker? What does that mean?
Is it?
Well, I don't want to be friends with you. I don't want to talk to you, etc.
Well,
I've known you for 30 years, and
Yeah.
I mean, just
That's-
No.
that's-
My wife left me for a whole different reason. Actually, there wasn't a reason.
So,
Hey, that's
Oh!
She's out there. But anyway, so I said, I don't like Trump. You like Trump. That's not a deal breaker for me. It shouldn't be a deal breaker. There should not be something that's politically based that has to do with our country that we all love that's a deal breaker for any of
that's
us.
the
We're all
commonality.
citizens.
especially if it's a
And,
person.
and so the point I wanted to make, though, was that when I said that to her, she went, you're right.
Disarmed her.
And sometimes you just need to say, why are you so uptight? We're sitting here talking about something, and you say, that's the deal breaker. I don't want to know you anymore.
They said their name,
didn't
though, not
used
a
to
principle or an
Be
issue.
that way. Yes, but I'm just saying it doesn't really
Oh,
matter.
did you ask them?
It's
Say,
just-
well, why? Like,
Well, it's because
what does that represent
She
for
has
you?
a son that's a disabled veteran, and she feels that Trump is more of a pro-military, pro-disabled veteran, not going to get her son injured, even
But
though
this is the deeper root.
her son wasn't injured in Benghazi, and even though she didn't even know the facts of Benghazi, that's what she was talking about.
That's her
the only-
concern, and she tied that into some sort of.
Yes, but my whole point is, okay, that's fine, but
What if you
I
agree with
understand
her
where
that
you're
her
coming
should
from.
have-
I understand where you're coming from, but I still don't believe it should be a deal breaker for us to know each other just because, or if she didn't even know my politics. She didn't know anything about me.
Well,
She
assumed
just
you wouldn't care
started
about her
talking
son.
politics.
Ashley, put Nick's
And-
comment
and
on the
so-
screen
and
in
so-
support of what
I'm
Ken is
sorry,
saying.
And so I just said,
That's terrible.
that's bad that's a deal breaker. But the thing is, you're right. So it did disarm her, and she said, you're right. And
Yes.
she was talking about how if Hillary had
Yeah.
been voted in
I've got
office, how much worse it would have been. And I said, do we
What
know
was it?
that? We don't know that, do we? You're making a judgment based
Yeah.
on something that hasn't
There it
happened.
is.
And again, she went,
You need it?
you're right.
Okay.
So a lot of times I think that
I just wanted to be
the
seen.
thing to do is not to punch back. It isn't to say,
Because it makes people.
screw you, Trump sucks. I did vote for Hillary. It is. Wait a minute. Why would that be
I'm
a
not
deal
that.
breaker? I'm not saying one way or the other, but why would you just totally kick me to the curb because I don't agree with what you agree with?
We used to
Well,
not
and
be
you
that
know-
way.
and
We
you know
used to
what?
Not be that way.
Uh,
we used to
shouldn't
be
do
able
that.
to
20
respect
years
each
ago.
other.
One,
Yeah.
I'm gonna address
Yeah.
Nick's comment that's on the screen, and then I want to comment on what you said. Nick said he quoted Thomas Jefferson very appropriately for your
Who's that?
your point. Ashley, you took it off.
He's the slave owner who,
I said I never considered a
Sex with a
difference
slave.
of opinion in politics, in religion.
Yes.
Right, let me restate it again.
Saying,
I never considered a difference
And
of
more.
opinion. I never considered a difference of opinion in politics, in religion, in philosophy as a cause for withdrawing from a friend.
Yes.
That's
Until Facebook.
that's a point to your point. That's a great quote to support that. I think in that scenario, when a person says it's either black or white kind of a world we live in. In that scenario, a great response from that would have been, in essence, how do you know I don't support the military?
No, I thought
Right.
my response was pretty good.
Yeah, it was great, right? I mean,
Why is that a deal
Like,
breaker?
why is that a deal breaker?
Yeah, because
right?
then
It's the same. They're
the
getting in the same thing.
it was
People
an
assume.
actual. It wasn't a Facebook thing. It was a conversation.
Yeah, no, that's
And the
what I'm
phone
saying.
didn't hang up, and by the end of the conversation, we
You're
were on
back
the
on the
same
same
page.
By the way, the
It's-
one-on-one
it's-
My point
conversations
is
are
that's
so
the
much
way.
better.
That's one of the
What's
ways
the
to
American way?
accomplish
Yeah,
what
to
you
have
say. The
that
purpose of the
face-to-face.
show
Absolutely.
is
Dialogue.
You know what
is
that
yes
is?
is to say.
What
Did
is
you
that?
hear what you just said? Did you hear that you just said it's a deal breaker if I voted for Hillary, and you're telling me it's a deal breaker before you know anything about me? What's wrong with you? And if you just address it like that, I think it is one way to accomplish what you.
Absolutely.
What's your
Absolutely.
definition
Okay,
of
so
Hillary?
as the
She doesn't
former
know.
therapist in this room,
She doesn't
there
know.
are neutralizing things you could say, like I wonder and let me hear you, because sometimes we're not listening to people. And so sometimes if somebody says something, I just want to clarify what they want. So let me understand what you're saying. Help me to
But
understand.
clarifying questions are not allowed.
You
No.
can recognize.
Especially not by teenagers.
Well, you know
Well,
what?
I do want to. No, I
No.
do want to hear teenagers.
It's like whenever
They do
you're
No,
have
no,
angry
they don't
with
wanna
your
hear
spouse,
you.
you're like they go off on you when they're asking where do you want to eat, and they're like, "What's?" It's either you're hangry, but other times it's like,
Hangry.
"What's really the problem here?"
Hashtag
I know it's
hangry.
not really about like going here or there, like, and you're just, it's either hangry or it can be something else, right?
So I think a skill that would be absolutely fantastic
active listening.
for everyone to learn, especially in internet settings, but anywhere, but especially in internet settings, is rather than make a statement in response to a statement, that's a deal breaker. I don't want to be your friend, right? And then you, in return, making a statement, well, you're a moron, whatever,
Which
right?
He didn't do
No,
that.
that's what I'm
That's what
saying.
he's saying.
That's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right? Rather than that,
Mhm.
the response that would be extremely helpful for America to learn is to ask a question.
Did you hear what you just said?
Help me to understand.
Right.
I hear what you
Help
want
me to
me to
understand.
say that.
Do you understand
that's
Any
where the comeback-
flavor-
Do you understand how much
Yeah.
of a
Any
that person
flavor-
is being?
Why do you feel that way?
They should
Why do you feel that way? What
Well, to
what
me,
about
why
that?
is still a combative word.
add
Why?
Why is almost
Hillary
accusatory.
to, like,
In
Tell-
the
tell me why you
world-
feel that way.
In the
Yeah.
world,
Like,
yeah,
being
okay.
able
So,
to
but
say,
what I
It's all in
think
how you
is
say it.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
tone-
Part of communication, right?
Tone, you know.
And sometimes we don't have to scream things. We can whisper.
One of the things that this applies.
Very
Hey, Chau.
sensitive. You have to speak up in here. Yes.
Chau. One of the things this applies to is something that I learned a while back is conflict resolution, and try to find phrases to rebuild that relationship. Can we find a way?
Yes. Let me hear you.
Let me understand your point. You're yelling and screaming at me because I voted for Donald Trump or didn't vote for Donald Trump or didn't vote for Hillary or I didn't vote for Hillary. It's those defining things. It's kind of like a dual phrase that you're trying to say. And I find it interesting when somebody's extremely angry at me. And I know that I have the ability to diffuse this one of two ways. I can either just turn around, walk away, or I can say, well, let me see if I got this straight. I want to understand your position on this. I want to truly understand this. Then we can move on.
Okay, so
and that's the result. That's where I want to go with this.
To understand.
I don't want to walk away.
Typically, people's values are really shaped by their childhood.
Right,
So now
and
I'm going
sometimes
way-
it works, sometimes it doesn't.
So now you peel back the layers of the onion. You go, okay.
Well, just like whenever
Well, I mean,
It
we're
still
all a
smells like an
product.
onion.
We're all a product of our
Find
series of
I find
experiences.
new
So,
friends, you know.
Yeah, we do.
but you know, this is the.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have it.
You can continue to seek knowledge and develop
I'm
I
with
was
you.
thinking about new
and
friends.
evolve. And one of the best-selling books in all history, The 7 Habits of the Highly Effective.
Yes.
And the principle that everybody is just describing here is one of those 7 habits. It's seek first to understand.
Right.
Right? I may completely disagree with you after I seek first to understand. That's okay. But an amazing thing happens when somebody feels understood. It really disarms them.
Yes.
Right?
And now what you recognize
Now we're not
is you're all
combative.
kind of one.
Right? So I'm like,
We're
you know,
human beings. At the core of who we are, we're human beings.
help me understand why me voting for Hillary is a deal breaker for you.
I don't
Right?
even like.
What about
calling them
that? Because I'm using Ken's example because it's
Why
a
do
good
you support
example.
this, and that?
Right?
versus
So,
this and that?
But you know, a lot of my liberal friends would say, "Oh my gosh, a Tea Party." Blah, blah, blah.
right. So, and just in
You know
reverse.
what I mean? But I don't do that. I go, you know what? Everybody has their own.
Just in reverse, right?
Right.
You're not
This
necessarily
in Ken's
dismissing it,
example.
you're
I'm kind of a
accepting it.
centrist, though.
Like classical liberalism, we have to, every time you hear the word liberal, you're like, wait. So my friends
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
in the
that's
classical
become
sense.
that's become a pejorative, a liberal.
Well, yeah, and David on the show is
What
very
did you
much
call
about
yourself,
defining
Ken?
conservatism because that has
A moderate,
Convergent
independent,
sense?
an independent
Exactly.
moderate.
It's become this-
accumulation
yeah.
of wisdom.
it's become a very
Raging
crazy.
moderate.
Here I'm viewed as a left-wing liberal, but I'm an independent
Raging.
moderate.
Until the
I had
words
no
like
idea why they would
Hillary
think
and whatever
that.
else get put in the dictionary, and they're defined as being this, and that. When people use that in the conversation, it ought
So
Yeah.
we'll wrap up. You know, at this point, we've had crazy technical issues, and this is me not being upset. So
See?
I wouldn't be
We're
upset.
doing the Jesus thing.
Right.
Jesus thing.
dial in the don't get freaked out about stuff. You know.
No.
That was pretty good.
So here we
Oh,
go.
we all give it up
We're gonna pass.
cherries?
Yes.
Yeah.
Grapes.
Grapes.
Oh, look,
We're great. You're, hey, Chau, you know you're a
It's
grape head
actually
now,
like a
right?
plum.
I
So,
was like,
You're
Right.
a grape head.
so anyway, we've had a bunch of comments. Great conversation. All this stuff. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
It's been fun. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks for
Cheers.
suffering through the technical difficulties with the show. I'm going to be working overtime this week to figure those out. Massively frustrating, but you know, hey, whatever. That's life. We get to drink great wine, have great conversation.
We drank it all.
We not only did we kill it, we'd I think we went through almost the entire box of box wine that we had also.
Which I think
Bunch of freaking lushes on this show.
I think you drank most.
I
You drank
always.
most of it. I'm not sure. Maybe
I was just going to say, I think Ken is arguing against himself at this point.
Who won?
So we've got to the end of the show. We've had a great discussion. If you want to be on the show, drop me a line right here at the Whine No Whine Show. You can go to winenowine.com and put your name in the hat there. Whatever floats your boat. I don't care. Just get in touch. We talk about everything and we have a good time doing it. And we get to enjoy some great wine. Look, guys, seriously, this is a mission I'm passionate about. If you believe in the idea that America needs to learn how to have these kind of conversations and not kill each other, share the show, like the page, be a part of the mission, get the word out. So it's a mission. I'm telling you, be a part of it. So With that said, we're going to rate the wine. That's how we wrap up this show. We got to enjoy a very nice Cabernet from the
Columbia Valley.
wonderful Columbia Valley
Columbia.
in Washington State.
2014.
Right? I'm sure you can't see this, but that's okay. I'm going to hold it up and pretend you can. So
It's a 2014 Forest Song.
that's right. It's a 2014 Forest Song is the name of the winery that makes it. And we'll go back to Steve here to rate the wine.
Okay. Well, thank you, Joe. This was a great show. We had a lot of good conversations. I enjoyed it. We could go on for 2 or 3 hours with this, but
I think so.
some of us have to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, me too.
We could go do that
last
now if
week-
you want.
Last week we had this wine, and I gave it a 2.5 grape. This week I'm going to give it a solid 3. I made a commitment last week that I would try to find a way to wrap around this vintage, and I have. I gave it an extra half grape because there's somewhere around it. It kind of grew on me a little bit. So that's the whole object. If it's something that you don't like, you don't have to try it again. But this week I tried it again, and hey, I gave it a half more grape. So I learned to wrap around things.
That tends to happen with alcohol. It tends to taste better the
Yeah, and
more
you know
Yeah.
a little bit of a buzz that you get. It's like, wow,
Okay,
I'm impervious.
And we're up.
so I'll give it a 4. I really enjoy a Cobb Top Cabernet Sauvignon or Cabernet Sauvignon. It was not too sweet, and I really did appreciate some of the flavors that were including the leather or whatever.
The leather.
Oh,
I
It
love the
had
taste
cow
of
in
good
it.
leather.
It had cow in it. It was leather
It is.
cow.
I mean, if you
It
like to
wasn't
bite
too
that kind of
sweet.
thing.
Brown
It has
leather.
a really great finish. So.
Yeah.
It is, I have to admit, I've gotten spoiled with the wine club that we're in because
Spoiled?
I've spoiled. I've
Spoiled. He's gotten spoiled.
gotten spoiled.
I'm
We've
gonna
gotten
fall out of
some.
my chair.
We've gotten some fantastic wines. We really have. I've literally had some of the best wine I've ever had in my life, being part of this wine club. So now I'm kind of those are on the same range or rating scale. So when I give a 5 rating, now that Malbec from Argentina is there. And I'm like, holy cow, that was a phenomenal freaking wine. So
He's the discerning one.
I
Is
still
what
have
he's saying.
about 6 bottles of that left.
Oh,
if you'd like to trade some other
evil
time.
man. Yes, I would love to trade some of those.
You have Cuban cigars, right?
I do have Cuban cigars. We
We-
will
we can
absolutely
talk.
make a
Those are
deal.
currencies.
We will make a deal. That is like my favorite one I've ever had. So anyway, my point being that I've gotten a scale now that includes some freaking amazing wines. So when I give this wine a 3.5 star, which is what I gave it last week,
Yeah,
3.5 grape. I'm sorry, 3.5 grapes. It's a very solid wine. This is something you could open up and drink with friends without food, that type of thing. It's an enjoyable wine just by itself. That's a very solid wine to me. So that's my rating, 3.5 grapes. So we have a 3, a 4, and 3.5.
3.75.
I concur with Joe. I give it a 3.5 grapes. I would give it a 4, but I don't think it's at the point of perfection, right? So it is a
Well, what's a
one-
5?
Yeah. Well, there's
It
a
fours
five-
perfection.
Oh, wait, 5 is
5.
perfection? Oh,
Yes.
5 is perfection. I thought 4 was. Now, here's what I'll say, is it's a lovely wine, full body, nice bite, great for some sort of hearty dinner, right? And great
Yes.
for conversation. But I don't know if I'd have it every night. Like, I don't think it would be a conversation
Very
wine
good.
on every sort of talk show night. But I did love it, and 3.5.
Yeah,
That's
see,
it.
there you go. Okay.
That's a great point. That I think it would be great with a steak or a salmon.
Yeah.
It would be awesome.
Yeah,
And it is actually good.
It would be great with a steak.
Yeah, yeah.
a
We had it.
steak.
I
Yeah.
think so.
When I
Yeah.
first tasted it, I was like, this would be great with salmon. So last week I gave it a 3, I think.
I think you gave it a 3.
Yeah, but this week I had 2 more glasses of it. So I'll give it a 4. It's pretty simple.
There you
It's
go.
better this week because I had 2 more.
Proving that more wine makes it taste better. Yes. So overall, a very solid wine for the week. If you guys want to be on the show, go to wineknowwine.com, drop your name in the hat, shoot me a message on Facebook here, and be a part of the movement that is the Wine No Wine Show. Saving America one conversation at a time.
And a
One
glass at a
civil conversation at a
And
time.
glass of
Always remember
One
that.
glass at a time,
Always
that's right.
remember that's the point of the show.
civil
Yes,
discourse.
absolutely.
It's not to
Civil
prove
discourse.
your point.
That's exactly right.
We are one.
So, average wine rating, 3.6. My daughter, being the technical expert that she is, did the math for us. Average wine rating, 3.6. That's fantastic. All right, guys, thanks for being part of the show. We're out. We'll see you next Friday, 5 o'clock. We'll tune in, or you tune in then. Bye.